Mshikamano hatima yetu, tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika, chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Welcome to Human TV Africa. You are watching us live here at Human TV Africa. My name is Kato Mukasa, and of course in the studio is Hussein Baya, and right from Kenya to do the production for today. And this is Human TV Africa. We are a registered charity organization, registered to do media work. You can join us by subscribing. Please subscribe, share, like, comment. But also we can host you in our studios and be part of this development. We are having studios in Uganda, Kenya. We have studios in Nigeria, Ghana. We have studios in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, USA, and of course UK. And we are growing. Simply subscribe. Simply subscribe. You can see it right on your screen. Subscribe to Human TV Africa. You'll be able to see this and more. Today, we are handling 10 amazing facts about Africa, specifically Eastern Africa. But today, I'm going to give you more than 10. What makes Eastern Africa special? This is episode 9 of the 10 amazing facts about Africa. If you have missed any, please go back into our archives and be able to have a look at whatever we have been sharing with you on this amazing television. Now, today we're going to handle Eastern Africa, and I'll be telling you what makes this region special. Let us start with saying what is in Eastern Africa. When you talk about Eastern Africa, people think of Uganda only, Kenya and Tanzania. No, Eastern Africa is much bigger than that. Eastern Africa actually has Ethiopia. Look at your map properly. I'm going to define for you what I mean by Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa has Ethiopia, it has Congo, it has Djibouti, it has Somalia, Southern Sudan, Sudan, Tanzania, Kenya, Burundi, Uganda, Rwanda, Eritrea, and of course, all these countries, to me, are part of Eastern Africa. So, Somalia is part, Ethiopia is part, Eritrea is part, Sudan as it was is part, Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Rwanda. This is all part of what I call the Great Eastern Africa. Look at that map. That one defines for you what I call the Great Eastern Africa. Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Southern Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi, and partly we can talk about Congo down there. Congo down there as part of the larger Eastern Africa. Or, if you like, you can get it out and we simply remain with the countries that they are Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Let us concentrate on these countries today to define what Eastern Africa is now. Kenya is the biggest economy in Eastern Africa. Kenya is the powerhouse right here. Kenya is the powerhouse right here, leads the Eastern Africa in terms of GDP. Kenya leads the East African countries in terms of GDP with over 100 118 billion US dollars in GDP. Kenya has 111 billion US dollars in GDP. It makes it the biggest economy. Of course, Kenya has about 55 million people right there. Let's look at other maps and other countries, please. Very fast, yeah. Kenya, in terms of ethnic groups, has the Luo, the Luyan, the Kalenjin, the Somali, and the Melu, Embu, Kamba, Kikuyu, and the others. I'm just giving you a snapshot of what makes Kenya great. Kenya has the best jumpers in East Africa. I love this tribe. I love the Maasais. I love the way they do that kind of stuff. They are great people. I love the Maasai. I just love the Maasai. Of course, Kenya is much richer in terms of minerals. Kenya is really rich. Kenya has gold, coal, iron ore, copper, titanium, niobium, rare earth, soda ash, and so many others. As you can see, manganese and others, as you can see on your screen. Kenya is lovely. I've been to Kenya. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people, happy people, and of course, very hardworking people in Kenya. I should tell you, yeah, Kenyans are more hardworking than so many East Africans on average. I should tell you that, of course, Kenya has tea. Kenya has tea, and Kenya is a very rich country in terms of tea. I was in Kericho. I know how Kenya is. I come from Uganda. Uganda comes in there, of course, as another good country to talk about in East Africa. Uganda has a GDP of about 45 billion US dollars. And of course, Uganda comes in there, not the second, of course, but around the third economy in Eastern Africa. Of course, Uganda has all those cities you see Tiak Gulu, Arua in the north, and of course Kampala in the central, Mubende, Tororo, Masaka, Mbarara in the west, right there in Fotopoto. These are towns in Kampala, another beautiful country right there. You should be able to visit, and just as a tourist, you find it very interesting. And now in terms of minerals, Uganda has gold, of course, Uganda has oil coming up, and of course, Uganda has all the minerals you think about in the world. I won't even mention what here are in Uganda. Basic minerals you think about in Uganda. We come to another beautiful country. Right there. You come to Tanzania. I love Tanzania. Tanzania is the biggest of all the countries in so far. The countries I mentioned, of course, with the exception to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is much bigger. Tanzania comes in there in terms of size, it's big. But in terms of economy, Tanzania has 85 billion US dollar GDP economy. 85 billion US dollar GDP economy. Tanzania there. And of course, we see other countries coming in. We see Ethiopia coming in right there to be another country to think about when we talk about countries developing very highly. Of course, we see Rwanda coming in right there. Rwanda has only 13 million people. Of course, with the struggling economy, Rwanda has about 34 billion economy of GDP. In terms of GDP, about 34 billion in terms of GDP of Rwanda there. Rwanda is a lovely country, lovely people. Love Rwanda, lovely place to visit. It has some of the best weather in the world, welcoming people, quiet, hardworking people in Rwanda, very hardworking, very serious. There's less corruption in Rwanda, if you ask me, and the country is on a stable path to development. That is Rwanda. If you want to go and visit, please go and visit Rwanda, one of the best countries in Eastern Africa, very peaceful and very prosperous. Kagame has been there as a president of Rwanda, at the helm of the presidency since 1994. April, this man has been leading Rwanda. And of course, Rwanda is doing quite well in terms of development. It's a small country, very small, just like Djibouti. Rwanda is a very small country, 13 million people, but Rwanda is developing. It's one of the countries with the smallest cabinet in the world, but also a cabinet with more women, that are leading this country. Rwanda is well strategically located. It has a very, very compassionate, determined, hardworking people right there in Rwanda. Rwanda there is a neighbor to Burundi, yet another small country, as you can see on the map. These two countries are quite small, Rwanda and Burundi, but Rwanda is far better than Burundi in terms of GDP, in terms of development, and of course in terms of peace. Rwanda is far, far ranked higher than Burundi. I tell you that, of course, Rwanda is there, Ethiopia boasts of the region's largest population in Eastern Africa. Djibouti is the smallest population in Eastern Africa. Somalia claims the largest and longest coastline of Eastern Africa. Southern Sudan has much oil than any other country in Eastern Africa. Tanzania boasts, of course, the mountain Kilimanjaro and others. Ethiopia boasts of the strongest military army in the region. Ethiopia is much stronger than Kenya, than Uganda, and all these other countries in Eastern Africa. Rwanda, of course, has the cleanest city in Eastern Africa. Kenya has Lake Turkana, the largest desert lake, and others. Burundi has the richest monarchical history. Burundi, up to now, has kings and all that. Of course, we have the Congo as part of the Eastern African. If you may ask me, Congo is also big. It's the seriously richest country in terms of mineral wealth in the world. Congo is the richest country in terms of mineral wealth in the world. That is Congo. It has every mineral you think about in the world. But sadly, Congo has the poorest people in Eastern Africa. Look at diamonds, gold, coltan. Coltan is a rare mineral that you can only find in Congo and a few other countries. Coltan there. Copper, cobalt, tin, manganese, lead, zinc, coal, uranium, and oil. Everything you talk about mineral is in Congo. But Congo has been rooted. Congo has been rooted by the capitalists. They take everything out of Congo. And trust me, Congolese are the poorest in this region, if you ask me. Bad love, but Congo is a wealthy powerhouse right there. Uganda powers Tanzania. Uganda gives Tanzania lots of power, lots of let us go back into the images buyer as I try to explain more. Give me these images. I try to give more history about these countries and what makes them special. Give us more a recap of these images. Because I told you Uganda has a population of about 14.5 million people. Of course, Uganda is promising, but of course, Uganda has been a bit insecure under a one-man leadership since 1986. Remember, Eritrea's capital Asmara means they made them unite. Eritrea's capital Asmara means they made them unite. Eritrea broke away from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is known as the rich country in terms of kings and histories and castles and palaces. Please keep on moving those images by as I keep on giving more details. Just keep on moving them for the sake of our viewers to see as I give them more about these countries. Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania share Lake Victoria. Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania share Lake Victoria. Tanzania and Kenya host Serengeti National Park, Serengeti and Masai Mara. Tanzania's Lake Tanganyika is Africa's deepest lake. Somalia was the first African country to produce a pilot. Somalia was the first African country, East African country to produce a pilot. The Nile River is the world's longest river. It flows through Sudan and, of course, from Uganda. The Nile River, if you ask me, River Nile is the world's longest river. Where does it come from? Which country do they go through? It comes right from within Eastern Africa. Kagame there, one of the most leaders in East Africa, his country, highly developing at a very high speed. Of course, Uganda, less than $1 a day sustains many people, but of course, many people in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania live below the poverty line. Ethiopia resisted colonialism due to strong emperors and monarchs. Ethiopia is the only country in Eastern Africa that was never conquered. In fact, Ethiopia was not even conquered by anyone. The Italians tried, and the Italians failed. So Ethiopia is one of the countries in the world that was never colonized, and the only country in Africa that we can say honestly, the only country in Africa that we can say that it was honestly never colonized. We may talk about Liberia, but I doubt it. Ethiopia was never colonized. Now, these are countries of Eastern Africa. We talk about Rwanda, we talk about Tanzania, we talk about DRC, we talk about Ethiopia, we talk about Djibouti, Eritrea, Eastern Africa. I'm talking about Eastern Africa, the larger Eastern Africa. And I'm telling you that all these countries have oil. Many of these countries have oil. Of course, Tanzania even has coal and other mineral reserves right there in Tanzania. Tanzania has the highest natural gas reserves in Eastern Africa at 57.4 trillion in their belts right there. Tanzania has the highest natural gas reserves in this region. And of course, it can be found in a place called Songo Songo in Lindi region, in the coastal region of Tanzania. Burundi has only 11 million people. The GDP of Burundi is only $9 billion US. Somalia has 17 million people. The GDP of Somalia is only 11 billion US dollars. And of course, the combined East African economy, as you can see, the combined, not the countries in the East African economy, exclude, of course, a few countries I've mentioned. They exclude Djibouti, they will exclude Ethiopia, they will exclude them. But the combined economy of Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, Southern Sudan, the combined GDP is about 312 billion US dollars of the East African community. The East African community has about 302 million people. The East African community. Remember, some countries I've mentioned are not part of the East African community. Yes, Ethiopia is not yet in. For example, Djibouti is not yet in the East African community. For example, Eritrea is not yet in the East African community. So I'm talking about Eastern Africa as it is known geographically. We talk about Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Southern Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, of course, Tanzania, Burundi, and Rwanda. That is it for today. I was mentioning to you a brief fact about countries in Eastern Africa. Thank you, Baya, for such a wonderful exposure today. And we are ending it here for today, saying if you want to know more about Africa and the countries in Africa, the economies, the people of Africa, please go no further. Visit our website. Always be able to be in the know. It is only found here at Humans TV Africa, where you come and get all these facts the way they are. We educate you, we empower you as you empower us. Remember to subscribe and be part of this team of the people wanting to create more awareness about places, people, countries, and of course the world that you don't normally see on social media. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.